I found out my sister got married the way you find out you've been replaced, casually, publicly, and on purpose. No invitation, no call. Just a photo in the family group chat and a caption that said, "Special people only." 3 days later, she called me. Not to apologize, not to explain. She called to ask if I'd sent her rent yet. That was the moment I realized the wedding wasn't about love. It was cover. And while everyone was busy celebrating her new last name, she was quietly trying to take everything else. My money, my authority, and the inheritance she thought I didn't deserve. I found out my sister got married the way you find out you've been replaced, casually, publicly, and on purpose. It was a Tuesday morning. I was standing in my kitchen in Riverton, Ohio, the kind of town where nothing ever feels urgent until it suddenly is. My coffee was already going cold when my phone vibrated on the counter. The family group chat. A notification I almost ignored because family messages usually meant birthdays I forgot or photos I didn't ask for. Instead, it was a wedding photo. My sister Maribel Hayes glowing in white. Her new husband smiling like he'd just won something. Champagne glasses raised. A caption underneath, posted by Maribel herself, "Special people only." I stared at the screen long enough for it to dim. No invitation, no warning, no conversation. Just confirmation. Public, undeniable that I hadn't made the cut. I scrolled. More photos appeared. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. An aunt who still owed me money. People who used words like responsible when they talked about me, as if it explained why I was always expected to pick up what everyone else dropped. My throat tightened, not sharply, but slowly. That familiar pressure that comes when you realize this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a choice. I texted Maribel anyway. "Hey, when did you set the date?" She replied in under a minute. "Yesterday." Then, almost immediately, another message popped up. We wanted something small, just special people. I didn't respond. I called her. She answered on speaker. I could hear voices behind her, laughter, the clink of glasses. "Oh," she said brightly, "you saw it." "I asked about the date," I said. I kept my voice level. Years of practice. "You could have told me." She laughed, soft and dismissive. I made the guest list. There it was, no hesitation, no apology. "You weren't on it." She paused just long enough to let it land. "Special people only." I didn't ask what that made me. I didn't ask why. I'd learned that asking Maribel why only gave her an audience. I said okay, and hung up before she could hear my breathing change. 10 minutes later, the group chat exploded. So beautiful, intimate and classy. Perfect wedding. Maribel posted another selfie, this one closer, her smile sharp enough to cut. "Special people only." I sat at the kitchen table and let the coffee go untouched. I let the humiliation come in small, controlled waves. The anger. The old, familiar realization that in my family, I was useful, but never cherished. I was the oldest, the one who stayed. When our grandfather's health declined, everyone else had reasons. Jobs, kids, burnout. I had spreadsheets, appointment schedules, medication lists taped to the fridge. I sat in hospital waiting rooms. I paid bills when confusion turned into late notices. When relatives suddenly reappeared the moment money entered the conversation, I was the one who said no. When he died, he left the memories. He left me responsibility, executor, trustee, the person who had to be careful, the person who could be blamed for every disappointment and still be expected to cover rent. So when Maribel cut me out of her wedding, I understood exactly what she was doing. She didn't want me there because she didn't want me to see what she was spending. I didn't confront her. I didn't post quotes. I went to work. I paid the bills I always paid. I kept the peace the way I always had, quietly, expensively. A week passed. Then, on a Tuesday morning, my phone rang. Maribel. I stared at her name before answering. This wasn't an apology. I already knew that. "Hey," she said, voice light, casual, like nothing had happened. "Did you send the rent?" I said nothing. She kept going, faster now. "The landlord emailed me. I literally just got married. I'm not dealing with this stress. Did you send it or not?" I turned my chair toward the window, watching cars move through the intersection below like the world hadn't shifted under my feet. "I didn't get anything from the landlord," I said. She scoffed. "Well, I did. It's embarrassing. Can you just send it, like today? Her tone wasn't asking. It was collecting. I opened my laptop, not because I trusted her, but because I trusted records more than family. I logged into the property portal for her apartment. The lease was in my name. It had to be. 2 years ago, she'd begged me to co-sign because her credit was being weird. Paid. Then I saw it. This month's payment rejected. Not insufficient funds. Not missed. Rejected because the payment destination had been changed. I leaned closer, heart slowing instead of racing. There was a small note beside the rejection line. Routing update pending authorization. Maribel's voice crackled through the phone. Hello, are you there? Yes, I said calmly. And in that moment, I understood something she didn't yet realize. The wedding wasn't the betrayal. It was the warning. I didn't accuse her. Not yet. Experience had taught me that confrontation without proof was just another way Maribel turned the spotlight back on herself. So I stayed quiet, the way I always did when something felt wrong but unfinished. I'll look into it, I said. She exhaled dramatically. Thank you. Please don't make this a thing. The line went dead. I didn't move for a moment. I sat there listening to the low hum of my laptop fan, the distant sound of traffic, the normality of everything that wasn't my life unraveling in real time. Then I clicked deeper into the portal. The payment history told one story. The audit trail told another. I opened the tab most people never touched. A small icon shaped like a clock. Boring, administrative. Exactly the kind of place the truth liked to hide. A log appeared. Authorized payer added. Pending verification. Timestamp. Yesterday, 4:51 p.m. Yesterday, the day after her wedding. I scrolled. The request wasn't made by property management. It wasn't flagged as a system update. It was listed under user action. My stomach tightened. Not panic, not yet. Something colder, heavier. Maribel's voice echoed in my head. Just send it like always. I clicked the detail arrow. A new window opened. The request included a name. Not mine. Hers. I felt my pulse spike once, sharp, then settle into a steady rhythm that told me this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intent. The verification method was listed underneath. Mail confirmation, sent to an address that wasn't mine. I copied it into a note, read it twice. A private mailbox 5 minutes from my office. One I recognized because I'd passed it 100 times without noticing it mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Maribel. Did you send it yet? I didn't reply. Instead, I grabbed my keys. The property management office sat behind manicured hedges and a sign that promised community living. Inside, it smelled like lemon cleaner and air freshener. A bowl of mints sat untouched on the counter. Normal, safe details, the kind that made everything else feel more surreal. I'm the leaseholder for Unit 312, I said at the desk. I need to talk to someone about unauthorized changes to my payment settings. The receptionist frowned at her screen. Name? Clara Hayes. Her fingers paused. She glanced up at me, then back down. One moment, she said, standing. I waited, arms crossed, folder pressed against my side like armor. Behind the glass wall, someone argued quietly about a late fee. A printer whirred. Life continued. Then a man stepped out, early 40s, clean haircut, no customer service smile. I'm Evan, he said. Come with me. His office door closed softly behind us. He pulled up the account without asking for more details. I'll be direct, he said. Someone attempted to add themselves as an authorized payer and redirect your rent payment. I nodded. Yesterday. He glanced at me just briefly. You saw the audit log. Yes. Good, he said. That's how these things get caught. He turned the screen toward me. The log was more detailed here. Time-stamped. Verified. Authorized payer request submitted by Maribel Hayes. My sister's name sat there in black text, unbothered by the damage it represented. She came in, Evan continued, used our lobby kiosk, submitted documentation. What kind of documentation? I asked. He hesitated just long enough to be careful. An authorization letter, a copy of your ID, and a check image. My chest hollowed. I didn't authorize anything, I said. I know, he replied. That's why the system flagged it. He clicked again. The destination account populated on screen. Not a corporate processor, not the landlord. A personal checking account. Account holder. Maribel Hayes. For a moment, everything inside me went very still. She hadn't been trying to help. She'd been trying to reroute my money into her own account, then call me like I'd failed her, collect twice, and let me look careless while she walked away clean. Did the change go through? I asked. No, Evan said. It was pending verification. We've frozen it. I exhaled slowly. There's more, he added. I didn't look at him. I looked at the screen. The verification letter was mailed yesterday, he said. Not to your address. To a mailbox, I said. He nodded. That's a red flag. I stood. My legs felt steady, even if everything else wasn't. I need copies of everything, I said. I can't give you copies yet, Evan replied, but I can document this as an unauthorized access attempt. Do it, I said immediately. He slid a form across the desk. I signed without hesitation. No one can change anything on this account without you here in person, he said. Good. As I left the office, my phone buzzed again. Maribel, why are you making this so complicated? I didn't answer, because now I knew something she didn't. She thought she was being clever, but she'd left a trail, and trails had a way of leading places she wouldn't like. I didn't go home. I drove past my apartment, past the grocery store, past the turn I usually took when I wanted everything to feel normal again. Instead, I followed the address I'd copied from the portal, 5 minutes from my office, tucked into a beige strip mall I'd never had a reason to enter. A neon sign flickered above the door. Mail and shipping. Inside, it smelled like cardboard and ink, shelves lined with taped boxes, a counter covered in laminated price lists. A small bell rang when I stepped in. A security camera blinked above the register. Hi, I said, keeping my voice even. I'm trying to track certified mail addressed to me that may have been redirected here. The clerk, a woman with tired eyes and a tight bun, didn't smile. We can't give out mailbox information. I'm not asking for that, I replied. I'm asking if mail with my name was received and picked up. She hesitated. Just a fraction. ID? She asked. I handed it over. She checked the card, then glanced at her screen. Her fingers moved faster now. When she looked up, her expression had shifted. Not surprised. Careful. There was a certified letter, she said. It was picked up. By who? I can't disclose that. Show me the pickup log, I said quietly. This is identity misuse. There will be a report. She swallowed, then disappeared through a door behind the counter. A man came out instead, late 50s, sleeves rolled up. Manager energy. I'm Aaron, he said. We don't release mailbox holder details, but for certified items, we keep signatures. That's all I need. He pulled out a clipboard and flipped through pages. Stopped. Turned it toward me. There it was. Recipient Clara Hayes, signed for by M. Hayes. My sister's handwriting, smooth, confident, the signature she'd practiced for her marriage certificate. My stomach tightened, not with shock, but with clarity. That's not my signature, I said. Aaron nodded. If you file a report, we can preserve the footage. I will. He hesitated, then added, there was another envelope tied to that mailbox. My chest went cold. From where? County probate court. The air felt heavier suddenly. I thanked him, took a photo of the log with permission, and walked out without rushing. Panic would come later. Right now, I needed momentum. The probate courthouse sat downtown, gray and unremarkable. Inside, fluorescent lights flattened everything. People waited in lines, clutching paperwork like lifelines. When it was my turn, I slid my ID under the glass. I need to ask about certified mail sent to me, I said. It was delivered to a private mailbox I don't own. The clerk typed, clicked, then paused. Name? Clara Hayes. She looked up. Are you the executor? Yes. Her posture changed, not warmer, but more precise. There's a mail hold on this file, she said. A hold? Meaning correspondence cannot be redirected or released to anyone but you, in person, with ID. My pulse thudded once. Why? Because someone attempted to change the mailing address last week. To a private mailbox, I said. She turned the screen slightly, just enough. The address matched. Who submitted the request? I asked. Catherine Hayes, she said. Married name filed as Catherine Bell. My sister's new last name looked wrong on that screen. Too clean. Was mail sent to me? I asked. Yes, 2 items, a notice of hearing and a petition. What petition? The clerk didn't soften it. Petition to remove executor. The words landed hard, but they didn't knock me over. On what grounds? Alleged mismanagement, alleged financial exploitation. I let the silence stretch. May I see it? She slid a form under the glass. I filled it out with steady hands. When she returned, she handed me a stapled packet. Catherine claimed I'd controlled our grandfather's money out of spite, claimed I was unstable, claimed I'd withheld distributions. She attached screenshots, texts stripped of context, a photo of me in a hospital waiting room, a copy of her lease with my name highlighted, as if paying her rent was proof of control. She'd turned my support into a weapon. There's also a request for temporary orders, the clerk said. To freeze distributions, I guessed? And redirect notices, she confirmed. To the mailbox. Denied, she added, because of the hold. I exhaled. When is the hearing? I asked. Next week, mandatory appearance. At the bottom of the notice, a line stood out. Failure to appear may result in temporary suspension of executor authority. As I gathered the papers, something settled in my chest. Not fear, but resolve. She wasn't improvising. She was executing a plan. Outside, the sun felt too bright. I sat in my car and stared at the packet until the world came back into focus. Then I opened my contacts and tapped a number I'd hoped to never need. A state law office, a receptionist answered. I need an emergency consult, I said, today. As I spoke, I realized something else. Quiet, undeniable. If you've stayed with me this far, it's because you recognize the moment when silence stops being protection and starts being permission. And I was done giving permission. The attorney's office was quiet in the way places get when they deal with consequences for a living. No music, no chatter, just muted phones and the soft scratch of pens against paper. Come back, the receptionist said after one look at my face. The lawyer waiting for me was Daniel Mercer, mid-40s, calm, eyes that didn't rush. He didn't ask me how I was. He asked me for the shortest version. So I gave it to him. The wedding, the rent call, the audit log, the mailbox signature, the petition. I slid the packet across his desk. He didn't interrupt. He read like someone assembling a machine in his head. She filed yesterday, he said finally. Yes. And she requested alternate service? Yes. He nodded once. That tells me she knew the mail hold was coming. I frowned. What? She tried to change the probate address first, he said. When that failed, she went after your money directly. Parallel tracks. My phone buzzed on the desk between us. A text from Catherine. You really want to do this the hard way? Daniel glanced at the screen, then back at me. Don't respond. Another buzz. If you don't fix the rent today, I'll tell everyone what you've been doing with Grandpa's money. I felt my jaw tighten. She's trying to create a narrative, Daniel said. Control first, explanation later. There's more, I said quietly. She intercepted probate mail. That got his full attention. Where? A private mailbox. I have the pickup signature. Daniel exhaled slowly. That's interference with service. He stood, already moving. We're filing today. What exactly? I asked. A notice of fraud attempt regarding service, he said. An opposition to her petition, and a request that all estate correspondence require in-person verification by you only. My phone buzzed again. This time, Catherine didn't ask. Send me the estate account login. The room went very still. Daniel looked at the message. She's escalating. She's panicking, I said. Good, he replied. People make mistakes when they panic. He reached for a legal pad and began outlining. Dates, times, locations, evidence. He made me slow down, made me include details I'd almost skipped. The exact timestamp on the portal, the mailbox address, the wording of her texts. Every sentence stripped of emotion, just facts. Halfway through, his assistant knocked and stepped in. Daniel, she said quietly, the bank is on line 1. It's about the Hayes estate account. My chest tightened. Daniel answered on speaker. This is Patricia Rowe, senior manager at Summit Federal, a woman said, professional and clipped. We need the executor to come in immediately with identification. What triggered the call? Daniel asked. There was an attempted change request submitted this morning, Patricia said. An individual presented paperwork claiming temporary authority over the account. I didn't wait. Was it Catherine? I can't confirm identities over speaker, Patricia replied carefully, but the request alleged the executor is withholding funds and is mentally unfit to manage distributions. There it was again, unstable. Daniel leaned forward. "We're on our way," he said. "Please secure the account." "Already done," Patricia replied. "No changes will be processed without in-person verification." The line went dead. Daniel grabbed the packet and clipped it together. "We're going to the bank." The drive felt surreal. Traffic lights, pedestrians, someone laughing into a phone at a crosswalk like nothing in the world was breaking. At the bank, security waved us through. Patricia met us at her office door. She didn't smile. "Before we proceed," she said, "I need to verify your identity." I handed over my ID and letters of appointment. She checked them carefully. "You are the executor on file," she confirmed. "Who came in?" I asked. Patricia turned her monitor toward us. "This morning. A woman with a marriage certificate, a copy of your grandfather's death certificate, and a document labeled Family Authorization." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Did you grant access?" "No," Patricia said, but she attempted to initiate a signer change and demanded we freeze the account. "Did she bring a court order?" I asked. Patricia slid a printout across the desk. It looked official at first glance. Title, case caption. But no seal, no clerk stamp, no judge's signature. Daniel tapped it once. "This is counterfeit." Patricia nodded. That was our assessment. She clicked another tab. When that failed, she attempted online enrollment using estate profile information from the lobby kiosk. My stomach turned. "Do you have cameras?" Daniel asked. Patricia pressed a button. "Security, pull the lobby feed from this morning." A video appeared, customers waiting, a guard pacing. Then Catherine stepped into frame, hair neat, posture confident, walking like she belonged anywhere she decided to be. Behind her, our mother. They stood at the kiosk together. Catherine typed, paused, pulled out her phone. Our mother hovered, watching the room. Patricia paused the video. "They tried to capture online access," she said. When that failed, they presented the counterfeit order. Daniel looked at me. "This is coordination." My phone buzzed again. A new message from Catherine, this time a screenshot. A confirmation page from a courthouse kiosk. Emergency motion submitted. Underneath, she wrote, "You're not the executor anymore. Check the account in an hour." I didn't feel panic. I felt something colder. Because now she wasn't bluffing about trying. She was bluffing about winning. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't react at all, which was somehow worse. "That screenshot means nothing," he said, eyes still on the bank monitor. "A filing is an authority." Patricia nodded. "No order has been served to this branch. Even an emergency motion requires a judge's signature." I let out a slow breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "But because the account is now a target," Patricia continued, "I'm placing a protective restriction. No outgoing transfers, no new online enrollment, no signer changes unless you appear in person with ID." She clicked once. A soft chime sounded, final and clean like a vault door closing. Catherine wanted panic. What she got was procedure. Daniel didn't let the moment sit. "We need to verify the docket," he said, "now." We left the bank with printed incident summaries in a folder that felt heavier than paper should. On the drive downtown, Daniel built the record out loud. "Timeline matters," he said. "Wedding exclusion, rent call, portal rewrote attempt, mail interception, executor removal petition, bank access attempt with counterfeit order." My phone buzzed again. A text from Catherine. "If you don't cooperate, I'll show the court what you've been hiding." Daniel didn't even glance at it. "Save everything." The probate courthouse looked the same as it had hours earlier. Same fluorescent buzz, same tired lines, same clerk with her hair pulled tight and eyes trained to catch lies. Daniel slid his bar card and our documents under the glass. "We need an emergency response filed today," he said, "and we need the e-filing metadata preserved." The clerk typed, clicked, then looked up. "The emergency motion is pending. No order has been issued." "We need that in writing," Daniel said politely. She printed a docket snapshot and slid it back. Status, pending. Then she hesitated. "There is something else." My stomach tightened. "She attempted to redirect notices again," the clerk said, "to the same private mailbox." "Denied," Daniel said. Yes, she confirmed. The hold remains active. I felt a small, bitter relief. The system remembered, even if my family didn't. Metadata, Daniel said. She printed another page. Submission time. Terminal location. User credentials. Catherine's name sat there plainly. No disguise, no proxy. That, Daniel said, tapping the page, is what the judge needs. We filed everything. The property portal audit log, the mailbox pickup signature, the bank incident report, the lobby camera stills, the texts claiming I'd been removed as executor. The clerk stamped the top page with a heavy thud. Hearing, she said, this afternoon. 2 hours later, we sat on a hard bench outside the courtroom. The carpet was worn thin, the air stale with old arguments. Daniel leaned toward me. She's going to lean on emotion. I know, I said. She'll say you're controlling. I know. She'll say she's just trying to protect the family. I almost laughed. The hallway door opened. Catherine walked in like she was late to a party she still expected to enjoy. Hair perfect. Chin lifted. Our mother beside her, clutching a folder like a shield. Catherine saw me and smiled, small, sharp. Special people only, she murmured as she passed. I didn't react. I looked at Daniel instead. Do you see how calm she is? I asked quietly. He nodded. People who think they're untouchable always are. The bailiff called our case. Inside, the judge didn't waste time. He looked at the filings, then at me. You are the current executor on record, he said. Then he turned to Catherine. You filed a petition to remove the executor and an emergency motion. You also requested alternate service to a private mailbox not associated with the executor. Explain. Catherine's voice came out practiced and sweet. Your Honor, my sister is controlling. She's been withholding money. She's emotional. I'm just trying to protect what my grandfather intended. The judge didn't respond immediately. Do you have evidence of mismanagement? Catherine lifted her folder. Yes. Daniel stood. Your Honor, he said evenly, we have objective records showing the petitioner is not seeking oversight. She is seeking access. He handed up the exhibits. The judge flipped through them. His eyes paused on the bank report, then the camera still. What is this counterfeit order? He asked. Catherine blinked. I don't know what that is. Did you go to the bank this morning? The judge asked. I went to ask questions. Did you attempt to change signer authority on the estate account? Catherine glanced at our mother, hesitated. I was trying to protect the money, she said. Daniel slid the metadata forward. This shows the emergency motion was filed from a courthouse kiosk using her credentials. We also have text messages stating the executor was no longer in authority and instructing her to check the account within the hour. The judge read the messages in silence. Then he asked one question that shifted the room. Why did you exclude the executor from your wedding and then contact her for rent days later? Catherine opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The judge leaned back slightly. I'm denying the emergency motion. The executor remains in place. Catherine's face tightened. I'm also ordering that all estate correspondence remain restricted to the executor's verified address. No alternate service without court approval. Then his voice hardened. This filing appears to be in bad faith. I'm setting a show cause hearing for sanctions and referring the matter for review of potential perjury and forgery. Our mother gasped. The judge didn't look at her. You are not a party. Do not speak. When we walked out, Catherine hissed my name like a curse. I didn't look at her. I looked at the stamped order in Daniel's hand, because paper was louder than family. The courthouse doors closed behind us with a sound that felt final, even though nothing was finished. Outside, the air was sharp and bright, the kind of afternoon that pretends nothing happened. Daniel spoke briefly with two detectives who'd been waiting near the steps. Financial crimes, badges clipped low, expressions neutral. They took copies, asked a few questions, promised follow-up. Catherine didn't look back as she walked away. Our mother did once, not with apology, with calculation. I drove home alone. For the first time in days, my phone stayed silent the entire drive. No texts, no calls, no threats wrapped in false concern. The quiet should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like the pause before impact. At home, I placed the court order on the kitchen table and stood there staring at it. The paper was thin, ordinary. and yet it held more weight than every conversation I'd had with my family combined. I poured a glass of water I didn't drink and sat down. This wasn't over. Daniel had been clear about that. "They don't stop when they lose once," he'd said as we parted. "They change tactics." He was right. The first sign came that evening. An email from an unfamiliar address landed in my inbox with the subject line, "Concerned family member." It was long, carefully worded, full of phrases like "just worried," "want transparency," "not trying to escalate." They CC'd an accountant I recognized, a distant cousin, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. The message painted me as overwhelmed, suggested I might need help managing things, asked whether an independent review would put everyone at ease. I closed the email without responding. 10 minutes later, another arrived, this time from a family friend, then another and another. Different senders, same tone. Catherine had lost access to the front door, so she was knocking on every window. I forwarded everything to Daniel. "This is coordination," I wrote. His reply came back fast. "Good. Keep forwarding. Patterns matter." That night, I barely slept. Not from fear. Fear had burned itself out days ago, but from vigilance. My mind kept replaying details, scanning for what I'd missed. Just before dawn, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You didn't have to embarrass us like that." I stared at the words. OS. I typed, then deleted, then set the phone face down. By morning, the probate clerk called. "Just letting you know," she said, voice clipped but not unkind. "We've received multiple inquiries about the estate from third parties." "Were any granted access?" I asked. "No," she said, "but it's unusual." "Not for me," I replied. She paused. "Document everything." I hung up and opened a new folder on my computer. Timeline. I logged dates, times, names, who contacted whom, who was CC'd, what language was repeated. It felt clinical, necessary. At noon, Daniel called. "They filed something else," he said. My stomach tightened. "What now?" "A request for mediation," he replied. "Voluntary, framed as reconciliation." I laughed once, short and humorless. "She wants to look reasonable," I said. "She wants to look cooperative," Daniel corrected. "So when she escalates again, she can say she tried." "Do we respond?" "Yes," he said. "We decline, in writing, briefly." An hour later, the response was filed. "Given the recent findings and pending sanctions review, the executor declines mediation at this time." Simple, clean, no emotion. That afternoon, my mother finally called. I let it ring until voicemail. Her message was soft, trembling, almost convincing. "You don't understand how this looks," she said. "People are talking. Catherine is devastated. You've gone too far." I deleted it without replying. Because the truth was, she didn't care how it looked. She cared who controlled the story. That evening, Daniel forwarded me something else. A bank alert. Attempted inquiry blocked. Someone had tried, again, to request information on the estate account. Not access, just confirmation. It was enough to trigger another flag. "This is good," Daniel said when I called him. "It shows persistence." "It shows obsession," I replied. "They're the same thing in court," he said. I hung up and stood by the window, watching the lights come on across Riverton. Ordinary houses, ordinary lives. People eating dinner, unaware of how quickly trust could turn into leverage. My phone buzzed once more. A final message from Catherine, this time from her real number. "You think you won?" I didn't answer, because she was right about one thing. I didn't think I'd won. I knew she wasn't done. And neither was I. The sanctions hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. Daniel warned me not to expect fireworks. "These things look boring from the outside," he said. "That's where people make mistakes. They think nothing important is happening." Catherine didn't make that mistake. 3 days before the hearing, she changed strategies again. The first call came from my employer. Human Resources, polite, careful. "We received an inquiry," the woman said. "Nothing formal. Just a question about whether you're currently under investigation for financial misconduct." My hand tightened around the phone. "And your response?" "We said we had no record of that," she replied, "but we wanted to let you know." "Thank you," I said. "Please document the call." After I hung up, my inbox refreshed. A message from a local journalist. "I'm working on a piece about estate disputes and would love your perspective." I didn't need to ask how they'd gotten my name. By noon, Daniel had a copy of the inquiry, too. "She's leaking," he said, testing pressure points. "What do we do?" I asked. "We let her," he replied, "and we log everything." That afternoon, a courier delivered an envelope to my door. No return address. Inside was a photocopy of the petition she'd already filed, this time with handwritten notes in the margins. Words circled, phrases underlined: control, isolation, unfit. At the bottom, in a different pen, "This could have been easier." I sat at the table for a long time, the paper flat in front of me. This wasn't about the money anymore. It was about erasing me. Daniel was blunt when I showed him. "She's trying to provoke a reaction, anything emotional, anything that makes you look unstable. And if I don't react? Then she has nothing new to work with," he said. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep, not because I was afraid of losing, but because I understood what winning would mean. There would be no reconciliation, no quiet return to normal, only distance and consequences. The courthouse felt colder the second time, more formal, less forgiving. Catherine arrived early. She wore a soft sweater, neutral colors, no sharp edges. Our mother sat behind her, hands folded, eyes red like she'd been practicing that expression. Daniel leaned toward me. "Notice the costume," he murmured. "She's selling vulnerability today." When the judge entered, the room stood, then settled into silence. The clerk summarized the issue: whether sanctions were appropriate given the findings of bad faith filing, attempted interference with service, and presentation of a counterfeit document. The judge turned to Catherine. "You filed multiple pleadings alleging misconduct," he said. "Yet we have objective evidence of attempted unauthorized access and misrepresentation. Explain why sanctions should not apply." Catherine's voice trembled, just enough. "I was scared," she said. "I didn't understand the process. I thought my sister was shutting me out." Daniel didn't object. He waited. "She's always been in control," Catherine continued. "I just wanted transparency." The judge looked down at the exhibits. "Transparency," he repeated. Then he turned to Daniel. Daniel stood. "Your Honor, fear doesn't explain forged authorization letters, intercepted mail, or a counterfeit court order. Those are deliberate acts." He handed up another document. "This is a record of post-hearing conduct," he said. "Attempts to contact third parties, inquiries to the executor's employer, and indirect pressure via media." The judge's brow furrowed. "Is this accurate?" "Yes," Daniel replied, "all documented." The room felt tighter, smaller. The judge looked at Catherine for a long moment. "You didn't stop when told to," he said. "You escalated." Catherine's mouth opened, closed. "I find this conduct sanctionable," the judge said. "Financial penalties will be assessed. Further, I am issuing a no-contact order regarding estate matters. Any violation will carry additional consequences." Our mother gasped softly. The judge didn't look at her. "As for the executor," he continued, glancing at me, "the court finds no evidence of mismanagement." He struck the gavel once. It was over. Outside, Catherine didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just looked at me with something close to disbelief. "You didn't have to do all this," she said quietly. I met her eyes. "Neither did you." As she walked away, I felt something unexpected. Not triumph, not relief, clarity. Some stories don't end with apologies. They end with boundaries. And if you're still here following each step, it's probably because you've recognized that moment too. The point where understanding replaces hope, and you stop waiting for people to change. You start changing what you allow. The no-contact order didn't make the world quieter. It made it clearer. Within hours of the hearing, the indirect noise started again. Except this time, it wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed at the spaces I'd finally sealed shut. The bank sent a formal notice confirming the restrictions. No inquiries, no third-party discussions, no concerned family members requesting updates. Everything funneled through one channel. Mine. The probate court followed with written confirmation of the sanctions and a warning stamped in heavy language about future filings. Paper after paper, clean, precise. "Unarguable," Daniel called that evening. "You did well today." "I didn't do anything," I said. "You didn't interrupt her," he replied. "That's doing something." The next step was practical, not dramatic. We disentangled. First, the lease. I drove back to the property management office with the court order in my bag. Evan recognized me immediately. Already flagged, he said, gesturing me into his office. We've had inquiries. I'm removing myself, I said, effective immediately. He nodded. Given the circumstances, we can restructure the lease solely under the resident. But she'll need to qualify. She won't, I said. Evan didn't comment. He didn't need to. I signed the paperwork. My name came off the lease like it had never been there. Relief came late that night, unexpected and sharp. Not emotional relief, financial relief, the kind that loosens something between your shoulders. Then the utilities, the insurance, the little recurring payments I'd set up years ago because it was easier than listening to excuses. I canceled them one by one. No announcement, no explanation, just silence. 2 days later, Catherine violated the no-contact order. Not directly. She sent a message through a mutual friend. She's struggling. She doesn't understand why you're doing this. Daniel's response was immediate. Documented, violation noted. A formal notice followed, short, cold. Any further attempts to communicate regarding estate matters will be reported. After that, the messages stopped. Not because she accepted it, because she'd run out of doors. The first real consequence landed a week later. A certified letter from the district attorney's office arrived at my door, not addressed to me, but copied to my counsel. Daniel called as soon as he saw it. They're proceeding, he said. With what? Attempted fraud, forgery, interference with service, he replied. They're offering a plea option. I closed my eyes. Do I need to do anything? No, he said. Just keep existing the way you have been, quietly, correctly. Existing correctly had never felt like an achievement before. It did now. The family narrative shifted quickly after that. The same people who'd congratulated Catherine on her wedding began asking careful questions. Not to me, to each other. I wasn't invited to those conversations. That was fine. One afternoon, I ran into a cousin at the grocery store. She hesitated when she saw me, then said, I didn't know any of that. I know, I replied. She nodded. I'm sorry. It wasn't an apology I needed. It was confirmation that silence had finally stopped working against me. At home, I reorganized the filing cabinet. Old bank statements, medical records, estate documents. I shredded what I no longer needed. Kept what I did. That night, I dreamed of my grandfather. Not sick, not confused. Just sitting at the kitchen table, watching me work without speaking. When I woke up, I felt steady. Weeks passed. The wedding photos disappeared from social media. Catherine's accounts went quiet. Our mother stopped calling entirely. Daniel checked in once more. The plea includes restitution and probation, he said, and a standing no-contact condition. I nodded. Good. Any regrets, he asked. I thought about the kitchen table, the cold coffee, the caption, special people only. No, I said, because the truth was this wasn't about punishment. It was about alignment. For the first time in my life, my actions matched what I'd always known but never enforced. Love doesn't require access. Family doesn't excuse harm. And peace isn't passive. It's protected. I locked the filing cabinet and turned off the light. Tomorrow, there would be more paperwork, but tonight there was quiet. And this time, it belonged to me. The plea agreement became public on a gray Monday morning. Not because anyone announced it, but because records always surface eventually. A docket update, a line item, a consequence written in language too dry to carry emotion, but heavy enough to change trajectories. Catherine accepted probation, restitution, a formal finding tied to attempted fraud and forgery. No jail time, no spectacle, just a permanent mark she couldn't talk her way out of. Daniel called me before I saw it myself. It's finalized. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. And the no-contact order? Extended, he said. Explicit. No indirect communication either. I exhaled slowly. That's it? I asked. That's the legal side, he replied. The rest is personal. The personal consequences came quietly. Our mother stopped using my name in conversations, at least from what filtered back to me. She told relatives she was heartbroken and confused, never mentioning why. Catherine became a topic people spoke around, not about. I didn't correct anyone. I didn't need to. At work, HR followed up once, briefly. The inquiry had been noted, dismissed, Closed. No record. No stain. Let us know if anything else comes up, they said. It didn't. For the first time in years, my inbox wasn't full of requests. My calendar wasn't padded with obligations that had nothing to do with me. I started leaving work earlier, cooking meals I actually ate, taking walks without replaying conversations in my head. The estate itself settled into a rhythm. Distributions went out on schedule, reports filed cleanly, no objections, no noise. Order had a sound, I realized. It was absence. One afternoon, a letter arrived from Catherine's attorney. Not to me, but to Daniel, who forwarded it with a single line. FYI, the letter requested confirmation of restitution terms. Nothing else. No apology. No explanation. Just compliance. That was enough. I drove out to the old property one weekend, the one my grandfather used to talk about selling but never did. The house stood empty now, waiting for its next chapter. I walked through the rooms slowly, touched the door frames, the kitchen counter where he'd once told me, "You're the one who pays attention." At the time, I'd thought it was a burden. Now I understood it was a recognition. Back in Riverton, I updated the estate file one last time and sent it to Daniel. Everything current, no issues. His reply came back almost immediately. "You handled this with precision." Most people don't. I closed the laptop. That evening, my phone buzzed with a notification from social media. Someone I barely remembered had commented on an old photo. "You're stronger than you think." I didn't reply. Validation that arrives late isn't meant to be collected. It's meant to be noted and left behind. I poured a glass of wine and stood by the window, watching the lights come on one by one across the neighborhood. The story everyone else told about my family would keep changing. New versions, softer edges, selective memory. Mine wouldn't, because I wasn't carrying it anymore. I thought again of the caption that started everything. Special people only. Maybe that had been true in a way my sister never intended. Not because of who was invited, but because of who survived it. Tomorrow I'd wake up and do something ordinary. Work, laundry, bills, no emergencies, no explanations. Just a life that finally belonged to me. The final order arrived on a Friday afternoon, folded into an envelope that didn't look important enough to change anything. That's how it usually is. No dramatic knock, no announcement, just paper. I opened it at the kitchen counter, the same place I'd been standing when the first photo appeared in the family chat weeks ago. The language was formal and unemotional. Probation terms finalized, restitution scheduled, no contact order reaffirmed. Estate matters closed unless reopened by the court. Closed. I read it twice, not because I didn't understand it, but because I needed to feel the weight of finality settle into my body. Not relief, exactly. Something steadier. Something earned. I signed the acknowledgement and set it aside. That night, I slept without dreaming. The next morning, I went through the house and did something I'd been postponing for years. I boxed up what no longer belonged to me. Old files, duplicate records, the backup binders I'd kept just in case. I labeled one box archive and slid it onto the highest shelf in the closet. If I ever needed it again, it would be there. If I didn't, that would be the point. The estate account pinged once that afternoon. Restitution deposit, clean, on time, no drama, the system working the way it was supposed to. I forwarded the confirmation to Daniel with a single line, "Received." He replied with a thumbs up and nothing else. Our work together was done. In the weeks that followed, life didn't magically transform. There were still emails, still traffic, still mornings when coffee went cold before I remembered to drink it. But something fundamental had shifted. No one asked me for money. No one tested boundaries just to see. No one mistook my silence for consent. The family group chat went quiet, then eventually disappeared from my phone altogether. I didn't leave it. I didn't announce anything. I just stopped opening it. One evening, as I was taking out the trash, I ran into our neighbor. She smiled and said, "Things seem calmer lately." "They are," I replied. She nodded like that made sense. Later that night, I scrolled through my phone and found the old screenshot, the wedding photo, the caption, "Special people only." I held it for a moment, then deleted it. Not because it still hurt, because it no longer mattered. The truth was simpler than all the explanations I'd rehearsed and never used. My sister hadn't wanted me at her wedding because I saw things clearly. She'd wanted my money because clarity had always paid the bills. And when those two facts collided, she chose spectacle over substance. I chose the opposite. I didn't win because the court sided with me. I won because I stopped playing a game designed to drain me. The last message I ever received from Catherine arrived indirectly, weeks later, through a friend who meant well and didn't understand the rules anymore. She says she hopes you're happy now. I was. Not because she lost, not because I proved anything, but because my life finally had fewer doors, and every one of them opened inward. I spent the next Sunday doing nothing remarkable. Grocery shopping, laundry, a walk around the block as the sun went down, ordinary choices, made without consulting anyone else's expectations. That was the real inheritance. If you've stayed with me through all 10 parts, it's probably because some part of this story felt familiar. Not the details, but the pattern. The moment when love became leverage, when silence became strategy, when walking away felt heavier than staying until it didn't. Stories like this don't end with applause. They end with alignment. And sometimes the quiet decision to keep following what's real, what's documented, what's earned, is the only signal you ever need.
In 400 meters, turn left.
That means full throttle. We
left.
love doing that, we really do. But this save, right? I'm trying to build my career, and I haven't got many hours in this game. I'm going to
Take
go
the
broke.
first exit, President
I'm
Wazer.
quite literally going to go broke if I've got 9,000 euros.
In 400 meters, turn right.
And I don't want to sell the trucks. I just bought 2 trucks.
Turn right.
I'm $500,000 in debt, €500,000 in debt, and I don't want to sell them or anything. I've got 2 drivers. I've kind of just got things happening in my game, you know? Hey, you, did you end up buying American Truck Sim, God King? Alright, so it's a 60k zone here. I'm going to speed, but I'm just not going to go crazy.
Continue straight.
Yeah, Seabeast here he only has €250,000 as well. I read your message as well, Seabeast. Oh, this is a great trucking song. Let's go. I did, I think. Hope. Sweet. I'll talk to you later. We'll play a bit of ATS together. It's not really a song about trucking, but it's just a cool song on the road, I reckon. What just happened? Oh, I just put my handbrake on. It's the same button for the windscreen wipers. Yes, I know. She was a long, cool woman in a black dress. So being black, 5'5", beautiful, tall. Just one look, I was a hot. Oh, God. Sea Beast! I gave you room! Oh man!